as possible so we can be professional.
That's right. I'm recording for real.
Oh, you're recording for real?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Alrighty.
So what we typically do as we start is we create an opening circle. So each of us, let's go of two things we don't want and bring in two things we do want. So we kind of create a space to get started and harmonize our intentions together. Mm-hmm. You guys like to do that?
Sure.
Okay.
Okay, awesome. And I think Molly and Joe, I think we're probably going to go for at least, about an hour. Does that work for you guys?
Let's
do that, or
yeah. We're kind of cutting into the hour that I'd planned, but
okay. Well, what would work for you? Would a half hour be better?
So maybe
probably at this point because we're closing in on noon.
Okay. So that'll work for you to do a half an hour?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Well then, let's begin. Okay.
I'll start. So I let go of all the technical and anxiety stuff that I have in my head right now.
Let me introduce the show first.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So people know what's going on.
All right.
Hello, and welcome to a very, very, very special edition of Revolutionary Romance. Obviously, as you can see, we are on video. My name is Llhewellyn-Ari, and this is my co-host, GabeTahilJoeMali. And I'm so pleased and grateful to announce and say that we have with us the authors of the incredible book, The Soulmate Experience, Molly Apple and Joe Dunn. Welcome to Revolutionary Romance.
Thanks, Gabe.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. So, as most of you know, with listening to our show, we begin with an opening circle. And this is also something that we invite you to participate in. And it's basically letting go of two things, two ways of being, and calling two ways of being back into your experience today. So we're going to go around the virtual room and do that now. So, Tahil, would you like to begin?
Sure. Okay, so I let go of any worry and anxiety. I let go of any kind of stress. I bring in grace, wisdom, and deep gratitude.
Beautiful. Beautiful. I am going to let go of feeling nervous and self-doubt. I'm going to call in self-acceptance and joy. How about you guys?
I'm going to let go of worrying about sweating because it's 80 degrees here in California in November, and I'm menopausal. I think that counts for two. And bring in just feeling comfortable right here. Yeah.
Okay, and I'm going to let go of any frustration and thoughts about what I've got going on after this, and call in relaxation and peace.
Perfect. So it is.
So let's all take a deep breath in. That felt good.
Beautiful. Thank you. So, Molly and Joe, I know Tahil was asking you this before the show, but I would love to hear why did you write this book? What prompted you to write Soulmate Experience?
Well, let's see. We were 4 years into an incredible relationship without ever a harsh word, much less an argument or any upset at all. And at that point, I think we were amazed at this relationship, how it had gone and how it was at the time. And we thought, well, we can either continue to just have this relationship, or we can dissect it and write about it. And I think we decided that would be the better use of our time, would be to try to get some of these ideas out there so that other people could have similar relationships.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. In my history, I've spent 20-something years as a book editor, a nonfiction book editor, so I think in terms of books. So when we started looking at our relationship, I definitely saw it in terms of there's a topic, there's a chapter. So, natural.
And so aside from being prompted, like, wow, like you got excited about writing this book because things were going really well, you know, often people say relationships are hard work. You know, this is something you hear a lot from people. You know, I've been a relationship coach for over 15 years, and often people have these opinions or judgments or assumptions about that if you're going to have a great relationship, it's going to take a lot of hard work, you've got to roll up the sleeves, and it's not always going to be rosy and so forth. What would you guys say to something like that?
I don't think it has to be hard work. I think you have to put a lot of intention into it and a lot of focus on it. But I think that it can be a lot of fun instead of a lot of hard work.
Yeah. There's a point at which I think you can enjoy the process. You can create in yourself a love for the process, and for me, it does not show up as work. And I know that some people become uncomfortable when I talk about it that way, because they'll say, well, you do have to do things. I'm like, you know, there is an intentional way about it, but honestly, for me, it's my life's play. So I just don't conceptualize it as work anymore. I don't think I ever did in terms of relationship, but this one's certainly not. And we put a lot of focus on it. So maybe that's what shows up as work for some people.
I think so too, and I know in your book, I think it's the 3rd chapter, which is one of my favorite chapters, and it's entitled Reducing Your Baggage. You talk quite extensively about how whatever relationship you're going to get in with someone, whatever baggage that you have is going to come up. Mm-hmm. And I think that causes a lot of, naturally, a lot of issues for one or more people in the relationship. Mm-hmm. Having to constantly be confronted with their baggage. Mm-hmm. And some people maybe aren't ready for that or aren't up for mm-hmm. that. And I definitely mm-hmm. see you two as two people who are really committed to your own growth mm-hmm. and committed to yourselves and your relationship. And I think that is vital for a relationship to work, because
for a relationship to be vital.
Right. Yeah, for the relationship to be vital is continued growth or a processing and releasing of a lot of the baggage that someone may be carrying.
Yeah, so if you're committed to that in your life in general, then having a relationship just brings it to you all the time, in your face. And I want that, right? I want to see my stuff. So that's why it doesn't show up as more work than just living your life in general.
And I think ultimately, if you don't work on reducing your baggage, then it's going to show up as more work, right? If you don't reduce your baggage, you're never going to be able to let go of it, right? So you're always going to be dragging this baggage around, whether it's in this relationship or your next relationship. Mm-hmm. So we're definitely advocates of sorting through your baggage, taking a look at it, and reducing it if at all possible.
So I'm curious of, we always, no matter who we meet, we're always going to be working on ourselves with one person or another. What makes one person somebody that you can work with, and other people it's not so much? Mm-hmm. Like sometimes you meet somebody and the connection is for days. Sometimes you meet them, it's for like 6 months. Sometimes it's a couple of years, and sometimes it's a lifetime. Mm-hmm. I'm curious about if you've come up with any distinctions about what creates that commitment to a lifetime partner versus someone as a part-time experience.
Mm-hmm. You were thinking of leave time.
Well, no, I was thinking of acceptance. And, accepting your partner is huge in a relationship in terms of, whether it's going to be a long-term relationship or not. I mean, I think the more accepting you can be of your partner, the better chance of a long-term relationship. Go ahead.
Yeah, and I don't really think of, honestly, this in terms of a long-term relationship. I really think
we're only 9 years now.
That's never set with me well. The idea of deciding that this is long-term or this isn't. I guess it's more about, what are we working with today? What are we working with in the next week or month? And focusing on that and not really thinking about how long it might last. Right. So I don't really know how you would determine, because I can't determine for us how long this will last. Seriously.
So when you met each other, you didn't know that you would be this good for this long, or you never thought of this person like that's going to be my partner for the rest of my life. That never came across. It was just the present moment that was more present.
Yeah, I don't think it still comes across it that way. I don't think either one of us think, this is my partner forever. Yeah. Not that we would are thinking about looking for someone else at all, but we just don't go to that faraway place in the future.
Yeah, it's far away.
And say, this is what I want to, stake my claim to.
Yeah.
Right? It's more about being in the moment. And I think if you're in the moment with somebody who's really there with you, the chances of it being a long-term relationship are really great.
Yeah.
But not to go out there to that point in the future and say, this is what I want. Right? And kind of try to stake your claim to that long-term relationship.
Yeah. I think one of the last chapter of our book is contains the 5 basic spiritual principles that the whole book is built upon. And one of them is that, where are you hanging out? Are you hanging out in the future, the imagined future? Or are you hanging out in the, the past? And to me, trying to figure out or trying to, nail something down is part of that imagined future. I cannot know what will happen tomorrow. I cannot know if you will meet somebody that you realize you have this incredible karma with, or, want to try out something else in your life. So, yeah, you can't know. I don't ever feel comfortable trying to hang out there. It makes me feel fearful to think in terms of forever or long term.
Yeah, because then you're worried about, what could happen between now and then, right? If you're in the moment with somebody, you're not worried about what's going to happen in 10 minutes or half an hour or next year.
That's the greatest gift that you can give someone, is your undivided attention, your presence. And I think in any relationship, especially if you are continually giving that to one another, therefore reminding the other person to be present, both of you are going to want to continue that relationship with each other.
Absolutely.
Because it's helping you to grow, and it's keeping you committed to what you know in your heart is true for you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And probably true for all of us, I think we could say.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Do you think that you can give us some tips for couples out there around how to step into what I call that private room together? When partners get together, there's this way that they drop into each other, where the whole world around them disappears, and it's like they're in their own little love cocoon.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, is there any tips that you have for couples to drop into that present moment where they're not worrying about the future or the past?
A huge one is, the first one is the acceptance. The more accepting and that again takes your awareness of where you're not being accepting of whoever this person is being in the moment. And on the other side of that is that willingness to be vulnerable and to step into that again and again, just as you did when you started the show. There's a vulnerability to say exactly what you're letting go of at the moment, because that means I'm showing you where my fear place is. And I think that's critical, that willingness to be vulnerable.
Yeah. I would say so too. So is that the only thing that you would say?
Well, the 2 parts. One is the acceptance of wherever your partner is at the moment, whoever they're being at the moment, and the knowledge that that's the best them they can be at this moment. To really understand that, to me, that's logical. that everybody on the planet is being the best them they can be at this moment. So when I get that, I stop resisting whatever comes up. I don't resist anything that comes up. And if I find myself in resistance to Joe, at that moment, I look at where's my resistance, not him. It's got nothing to do with him. It's always got to do with me. So those two pieces together to me, acceptance, both him and of myself, of whatever crap is coming up for me too, and then that willingness to speak it, to show it. This is where I am. This is where my crazy mind is taking me at the moment. Could you look at this with me?
Yeah, and I think sometimes, I know for me, I can say that I've dated people, or I've gotten to relationships where they're not as up for that as I might be, and they're not at that place of wanting to create something like that.
Yeah.
And you know, oftentimes it's sad, and we have to let those people out of our lives, but ultimately it's being authentic and accepting what is in that relationship.
And what we talk about, one of our chapters is playing leapfrog, and once those things are in place, you have this creational space where we can actually assist each other in that personal growth. That as you mentioned, Dale, that we all have to be in, really, to be in a live relationship. We have to all be in that place ourselves, of committed to our own personal growth. But once we're both there, we can play off each other and help each other. You know, I mean, it's a metaphor we use.
Right.
If you explain the leapfrog metaphor.
Yeah, basically, leapfrog in a relationship is where you would offer your back to your partner. You might recognize in your partner something that maybe they don't recognize in themselves, that they could, leap a little bit farther. And so you offer them your back and your support so that they can take that leap, not necessarily past you, but to a place where they're a better form of themselves.
Beautifully said. I love the concept. Now I'll never look at leapfrog the same way again. I'm definitely going to recycle that one. That's beautiful. I'm curious about that sense of wonder and awe. Do you have any tips about how to create more wonder and awe for couples? A sense of reclaiming innocence after years of being together.
You know, the idea of just, what were we eating the other day? Cashews, I think. And really doing it fully present. Looking at it in our hands, looking at the shape, feeling how it feels in your mouth, really feeling the texture.
As you crunch one down, yeah.
Yeah, there's innocence, and there's beauty, and there's gratitude for life, and there's joy, all in that one simple thing of bringing your shared presence to some very simple life experience, whether it's a sunset, having a cup of tea, going for a walk. We do that all the time.
Yeah. So it's really about, internal, and not going outside, and focusing on stuff that's way out and about. I mean, unless it's like a sunset would work, but I think the idea is that we're always thinking about something tomorrow or next week, or worried about this or worried about that. I think we need to stop some of that and really focus on what do we have in front of us right now to deal with. Whether it's to enjoy, yeah. Whether it's a handful of cashews or a sunset or the rain or
yeah.
And that baggage that you guys talked about earlier, those assumptive, I'm guessing that comes from those assumptive natures. Like where we have assumptions about what the person should or should not be, and they have assumptions about us. And no matter how self-aware we think we are, I think all of us carry some kind of assumptive, assumptions around people in our life, especially people who are close to us. Is there any tips that you have about clearing that out, making it, bringing it into the relationship, and making it easier for us to stay present to each other?
We have a huge, we wrote a whole chapter on that. We called it turning expectations into invitations. And first it explores exactly what you were talking about, how we come into a relationship with so many expectations. I mean, we gather them from our families, from the media, from previous relationships, everywhere. And if we don't take a good look at them, we don't even know we have them. And they start causing trouble before we even can figure out what the hell happened. So we not only go through all the different ways to recognize your own expectations, all the different clues that come up that will show you, like the word should. That's one of those little clues that if you ever find yourself saying the word should, it's very hard to say the word should without there being any expectation energy behind it. So there's a lot of things like that. But then there's this magical thing that if you can get this, when you recognize that I have this expectation, whatever it is, that Joe should want to go on my walks with me. And when I look at that, say, by virtue of whatever, he's my partner, he lives with me, so he should want to go on walks with me. It's just reasonable to assume.
I like walks, he should too.
Yeah. But once I can recognize that and know that is not going to get me the kind of connection that I want. If I can let go of that entirely, let go of any idea that he should go on a walk with me ever, I can get to a place where I can then invite him to. And the beauty of the invitation and the great difference between an invitation and an expectation is there's no idea that he should do it, that he should say yes. And so the invitation that comes is just this open,
very receptive. Mm-hmm. Come if you'd like. Don't if you don't want to.
And almost always, and it's not that we're trying to be manipulative with this idea, but almost always the person is like, well, yes, why wouldn't I want to step into that wonderful invitation?
Right. As opposed to an expectation where, if Molly has an expectation that I go on that walk with her, and I do, right, grudgingly, possibly, there's just not going to be that same joy in it for either one of us, right? I'm going to be doing it because I can feel that I'm expected to do it.
Yeah.
Molly's going to get what she wants or what she thinks she wants, which is me going for a walk with her, but it won't have the same quality that responding to an invitation would have.
And because what you're really after is connection. In all those expectations, the bottom line, what we want is to feel connected.
Yeah, I would say that's, definitely, that's true for everyone, whether you are in a relationship or not. And I'm really curious what you guys would say to the many people out there, some of whom are not in a relationship, some of whom are, and are kind of off in dreamland, thinking of this concept of soulmates, like there's someone out there for me, out there, that I've got to find. Why am I not in the relationship of my dreams? I should be in that relationship. What's wrong with me that I'm not in that relationship? Having that expectation, which I think many people can relate to, how could you turn that into an invitation? Or how could these people turn that into an invitation for themselves?
I love that. That's beautiful. Yeah. That's beautiful. Yeah, I was just, when I was hearing that, I was thinking it's exactly the same, just what you said. It's exactly the same in a relationship or not. Feeling all the stuff that comes when we have that kind of expectation of life. All this pressure and all this fear that comes with it is the primary reason for me to try to let it go. And when I let go of expectations about life, I find the same thing happens. It's almost like I open my arms and my doors to life, and things start flooding in.
So it's basically giving yourself an invitation, right? In your case, where you have these expectations for yourself. So it's letting go of those and giving yourself an invitation to maybe experience life differently.
Yeah, and allowing life to come to you the way that it's coming. It ends up being way beautiful that way, doesn't it?
It does.
Yeah.
I think it's very common. I'll speak for myself, really, for me, anyways, to get into my head about how I think things should be, and kind of lose some of this heart chakra energy, and I start analyzing things, and I kind of get lost in this idea that I really want to create for myself, and I find that it gets very frustrating, and it makes me just really want to give up entirely. And at the same time, I know that I'm doing that to myself in my life. And I think, piggybacking off of what you said around not having expectations of life, or doing our best to examine, hey, maybe I have some unconscious expectations that I should be in a relationship, or that gosh, I'm 35 years old. I should be married and have a husband by now. Why don't I? And maybe even just starting with accepting, just like you guys said, accepting with where I'm at. Like, gosh, okay, part of me has these expectations. Okay, great. Do I want to continue having these expectations, or would I like to let them go? Which would bring me more peace? And letting me know that.
Maybe asking yourself if those expectations are working for you.
Yeah.
So what are some calling cards or some ways that people can spot the unconscious assumptions that people have around relating with one another, or if you're single, assumptions that people have about how to find someone, or what they should look like, or what they should be around the person that they want, all that stuff. Yeah. Any clues for that?
Yeah, a lot of questions there.
Yeah, good take 'em.
The first thing that came to mind was that concept of having this idea of what you want. And for me, when I was in a position to meet somebody new the last time, which was 9 years ago, I found that I had no ideas left about what I wanted. And what happened was it created this space for something like this to walk in the door. And I really totally feel I could not go online and fill out forms on dating sites of what I was looking for or who I was. I was just like, there was nothing left that I knew I wanted. I was open to what was ready to show up in my life. So for me, I can't imagine doing it with expectations now, trying to figure out beforehand what I'm looking for and go out looking for that, because I get this feeling like that's restricting what life can offer me, and that it's ready and it's there for and it's available for me, but I'm not going to see it because I have all these ideas about what it's supposed to look like.
I'll give you a great example. Had we had forms to fill out in advance of meeting each other, we probably wouldn't be in a relationship.
We wouldn't have met.
Because, a simple yet strong belief that I had was that I didn't like redheads. So that would have disqualified her right away. And I've had this most incredible relationship I can imagine for the past 9 years with a redhead. So I'm a believer in trying to reduce your requirements, eliminate your requirements about who you think is the right person for you, or who you think you want to be with. And allowing that person to show up in whatever form.
Yeah, this is interesting because this smacks maybe contradictory, or maybe it's a compliment around what about setting intentions, or setting a vision, or having a vision for what you want. I often hear people say if you don't envision what you want, the likelihood of you getting it is a lot less likely. So how does that deal with expectations and all that?
I think for me, the vision of what I wanted was definitely, there was no visual picture to it. It's a feeling.
Yeah.
It's a feeling of receptivity, connection, openness, exploration. It's a feeling.
So you had a feeling of it already being there without all the should-be.
And I don't know how it's going to look. And I trust that it will come in and be the perfect thing. And it happened to look like this, which I was really happy with. When we had done this intense, deep dialogue back and forth by email for weeks and didn't send any pictures, I didn't care about the details. I didn't want to know how old he was, what he looked like, where he, any of those details. But when we met, and I walked in and he was sitting there, I'm like, yeah, jackpot.
You followed your rainbow.
Yeah.
I love that sense of like viscerally feeling what you want without having an assumption of what it should look like.
Yeah, no
And
picture.
having that as an expression of a vision.
The picture's coming from here, and I don't trust this as much as this.
Oh.
I'm curious, did it work for both of you that way, or did you have different ways of accessing that?
I'm curious too.
I probably had a few more ideas about who this person would be. I mean, I wanted somebody who was athletic because I'm an athlete too. So a little bit more requirement on my side. But again, I was perfectly comfortable not sharing pictures and not knowing what she did or really much about her at all. It was a wonderful mystery to allow to unravel as time went on.
Mm-hmm.
And did you also have like a visceral feeling inside your body of kind of like what you were looking for without actually knowing what it might be?
Not so much. I think I came into it from a more traditional perspective. And so it's been in the last 9 years that I've changed tremendously. And I know now that, if for some reason I were out there looking again, I would definitely not go with a picture. It would be more of a feel, for sure.
So that's something that evolved for you over time.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. She's taught me a lot.
So for all of you who are listening to this interview, stand on all our shoulders and learn right from the beginning to embody the visceral feeling of what you'd want to have as an experience when you're relating with someone, and carry that with you and work on having that experience inside your body as you function throughout your day, and see what happens in your welcoming experience. Like, people will start coming out of woodworks that are meant to be with you.
That's nice.
Is that close?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. I like it.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
I feel so great being around all of you right now. All of you relationship experts. I feel like I'm just getting downloads and really expanding my own relationship consciousness in this moment. I'm really, really grateful for all of you, and I just wanted to express that, and thank you all.
I'm really curious about what the latest couple of lessons that you've learned from your experience with each other. Just your current, juicy discoveries.
We just put out an audio called Mantras for Making Love. And it contains, 30 or 40 mantras and affirmations that came out of, we realized we use these, in intimate ways, and they're so powerful for focusing your intention and yourselves.
Yeah.
So we really are, we're kind of moving in that direction more, exploring more deeply intimate. Our second book will be more on the topics of intimacy and physical connection, and how that, for us it's all interwoven with the spiritual. So, it's kind of where we're playing.
Yeah.
I want to say I loved that. I took a listen to most of the mantras for making love, and I loved that you used very specific affirmations and mantras for different things that people might be dealing with. I remember there was one that had to do with breasts. For a woman feeling comfortable and safe to that her breasts, was it receive love? Is that what it was? I can't remember. But I just thought that was really great how it was kind of tailored to a lot of different beliefs that might be in the way from actually connecting.
Exactly.
Partner.
Exactly.
even if it's as small and something as physical as your breasts,
Or
You know.
as big. I mean, right, yes. But
That,
truly,
you know,
what gets in the way is
but-
your beliefs, just what you said. What gets in the way is our ideas. And so a lot of those are for, let's quiet that stuff.
And a lot of, pretty much everything that we do is practical, right? We want everything that we put out there to be very practical and easy to absorb, easy to apply. And so in terms of the mantras for making love, I think we came up with all the things that people might face, or as many as we could come up with, in an intimate relationship, and what their fears and concerns were, and tried to address those. So
I'm guessing, if I hear it, I haven't seen the package yet, but I'm guessing what you did was you reframed some of the negative talk that people might have about their bodies and intimacy between one another. Is that close?
We do some of that, and also there's that idea of leapfrog in there again, of your partner helping you. So Joe might say to me, if I'm having an issue about my breasts, whether I think they're too small or too large or too saggy or too non-existent or whatever, to say something like, with his heart open, your breasts are the perfect size for making love. Something like that.
That's right.
It's like, wow, it just, you can let go of that and be here.
So it's the ultimate in pillow talk. It's
you can say that.
A sacred way of expressing pillow talk with one another.
Right.
Lift each other, right?
I like that.
Yeah, that's great. And all designed to make you more present, right? To let go of these ideas, these negative beliefs you have, and be there with your partner.
On both sides, right? Because if you're saying that to your partner is to help heal them, you both become more present in that space.
Sure.
And I think that's what I love about everything that you guys are a part of, is your message is always very simple. And it's almost always that I am my own answer, and that answer is love, and let's be here now with each other.
That's it.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate that. And one thing that I loved when I read this book was that message happens over and over in a lot of different ways, and the reader, or I should say, I'll speak for myself, I really took that into a lot of different aspects of my life, that very simple message of just being present and being, not searching outside of myself, just kind of knowing that the ultimate relationship, the ultimate soulmate is myself. And I have got to take, the more I take responsibility for that and really love who I am and get present to that, how could it not spill forth into everyone in my life, especially my partner? And if both partners are doing that, well, good golly, it's like a soulmate extravaganza. I really, again, appreciate that about your work. So thank you for being very simple in your approach, but also very profound.
Thank you, Gabe.
Great.
I've just got to say something about the soulmate extravaganza. So many people that we talk to and work with are in a relationship where there's only one person who's doing the work. And I'm calling it work, as we all know what we're talking about when we say work, the personal work. But it's always a choice to stay in the relationship. Each day you make that choice to stay or to go. But any advancement you make on yourself is going to result in an improved situation in one way or another for you. So, we can't. It rarely ever works to turn to this person and say, "You have to change. You have to do the work." It just doesn't work. They don't want to do the work. They're not going to do the work. So it always does come back to you. But we can make significant improvement in our own experience by doing it ourselves.
Well said. I've been a relationship coach for over 15 years, and whenever a couple comes in, it's usually one partner dragging the other partner in for something. And, the moment that people get that it's both people bringing in their efforts to make the transformation happen, it already becomes a healing balm. It becomes a holistic practice as a couple versus one person thinking the other person has to do the work and they're not. It's beautifully said.
Oh, well, Molly and Joe, we're having a little bit of a shorter show today, which is perfect, and I really would love to just thank you from the bottom of my heart for the work that you're doing and the amount of presence that you put into your relationship with each other. It's very inspiring for me, and I'm sure a lot of other people. And I want to say, before we quickly get to our closing circle, that I definitely a while ago I did a program, I guess we could say, with you guys on this book on my YouTube channel, on my YouTube vlog channel, and I wanted to talk about that today, but we don't have the time for that. So I'd love to maybe invite you back around February and maybe chat about that and see what epiphanies we can all come to together. Because I'd love to revisit that with you guys.
Sure.
So maybe you'd like to come back and talk about that for Valentine's next year.
Yeah,
we'd be happy to.
And there's something synergistic here that's really beautiful. So absolutely, I think to sit down with you guys and talk about anything would be fabulous.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful! Thank you so much. So now we're going to do our closing circle, and Teal will lead you and you, Molly and Joe, and you watching or listening on how we're going to do that.
So our closing circle, we typically share something that moved us from the experience, something we learned from the experience, and something that we would add or subtract. These opening and closing circles are set up as a basic function that most people are typically challenged with around connecting and disconnecting from people, which is the basic function of life. So we're going to start with me. So I was deeply moved by just seeing your body language together, how affectionate you are, the little dances that you had by looking at one another and mirroring each other as you're figuring stuff out. I was moved by the realness of who you are. That was really precious for me to see. I learned a lot, but the thing that stands out most for me from this talk is the leapfrog. And definitely take away the leapfrog with me, and I'm going to bring it home to my partner, and we're going to practice, and I'm sure it's going to just pass on to all the people in my community. So you're going to have a lot of people talking about leapfrog in my neck of the woods.
That's good.
I really appreciate that. But would I add or subtract? To meet more in person, because I would love to have more of that personal connection where we can all sit on a couch. And
we don't know if we'd all fit. Listen, I really was moved. I was moved by both of your presence, Molly and Joe, and I was just also moved by the synergistic nature of our conversation. You too, buddy. And I really learned that I have an expectation to let go of around life, and I also learned that could be a very powerful invitation for me, and I'm really grateful for that. And one thing that I would add or subtract is I would love to have more time to talk about these issues and things with both of you. So, yeah, it was really great. I'm really grateful.
So one of the things that came up for me was in your questions, I realized when you asked Joe about his experience when we met and did he come in it the same way, is realizing how very different our paths really were up to the point when we met, and how, Joe did what I consider is take this immense leap right before I met him, and into about 2 or 3 years, he took this huge shift in consciousness that was just amazing to watch, and to realize that people don't have to come into a relationship at the same place if they've got those things in place where they can help each other to do that. So it was to see it to step outside and watch it as you're asking the question was very cool. And I can't imagine subtracting from anything really. So I would have to add. I got this feeling that there was a lot more things that we could explore. That there might be something in the making here.
So
very cool. For me, I was moved and inspired by the fact that you two would, want to take the time to put this all together and go through the technical issues and do the recording, and that's great. It really moved me. So thank you for that. And I don't think I'd subtract anything either. I think getting together would be great. That would be an addition, and doing more of this would be great. So thanks, guys.
Well, that's unanimous. That's unanimous. So, oh gosh. So thank you again, Molly and Joe, for your inspiring presence. Thank you, Teal, for your inspiring presence. And thank you to you watching or listening. You are the whole reason that we're doing this. We're doing this for you. So thank you for being present with us and for the presence that you're giving us right now. We are immensely grateful.
I love him.
I think I can speak for all of us when we say we look forward to seeing you again soon, and we shall.
Great.
Blessings and namaste.
Thanks, guys. It's been fun.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you so much. So, Molly, if you can just